communities around the globe. And we are running, this is supposed to be a map of the world somehow. And here is where we are, North America and South America, Africa, Europe, Russia, and Australia. And the conference started really here in 2008 in New Vrajadam, one of our strong communities, and it has developed to North America, South America, 2016, and this year we are going to Russia and to Australia. So the idea in these conferences is to bring researchers, technical people, farmers, sympathizers of ecology to find solutions. So this is what we have been doing. And in today's presentation, I am going to show to you some of the relationships. Is that better? I'm okay. Yes, we have farmers which goes from 1,600 hectares to farms we have 50 hectares, 30 hectares. So there's a wide variety. There are farms that are very rich, and some farms that have barely any resources. So this is a wide range of rich, poor, diverse. Some have very poor soil, some have very rich soil. So we are looking at a very strong variety of places. And today we really wanted to look at, have a closer look at Dharma. So we just had a definition from Webster, so Dharma, what would it be? Just conformity to one's duty and nature. Also from Oxford, it brings a more religious definition, saying that the eternal and inherent nature of reality, regarded in Hinduism as a cosmic law, underlying right behavior and social order. So, from our tradition, we find that there is a definition which kind of is very connected. It's the innate characteristic of a being or a thing. And that's be the heart of this presentation, the innate characteristic of a being or a thing. And our founder, Acharya, he also defined it as occupational duty, constitutional duty, that is Dharma, functional duty. So in this presentation, we're going to try to show you how constitutional duty of each one, plus the innate characteristics, are really relevant in the world of sustainability and ecology. So that's what we're trying to do today. And you see in this tradition, the cows and the bulls, they're very connected to Dharma, as you see. For example, there's a relationship between the cows and the bulls. You find in one of the scriptures, which has been cited here by Jiva Goswami, which was a presentation yesterday, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharma is shown as the personality of religious principles in the form of a bull. So here you see a deep connection between Dharma and the form of a bull. Then you have another quotation which shows that in Bhagavatam 1:17.3 that Gam, the cow, Cha, also, Dharma Dhugan, is offering, you can draw religious dharmic principles from the cow. So again, Dharma and the cow, very connected. And then you have another quote where it says that Gavyam, Ajam, Havishu, Aham. So the Supreme Person is now telling us that he, among all the ingredients of a sacrifice, he is the Panchagavya, the 5 elements which comes from the cow. And that's something which connects it very much. And then, let's see, we're trying to move on. Somehow we had some technological problems. We talk so badly about the Industrial Revolution, the machines get angry at us and they take a revenge, right? They take revenge. When you most need it, now it's my turn to catch you. So now here we are looking at something which is, now we established Dharma in the cows, but here divinity is much more established. Look at this. Brahmanyaya Devaya, go, which refers to cows. Brahmanya, philosophers, seekers. Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya. This person, Supreme, is called Govinda. It's a person who tenders cows. It's like a divine person who tenders. So a connection between the cows, the philosophers, and the Supreme Personality is really well established. And this is from the Vishnu Purana, another scripture in our tradition. And then there's another quote which established that, which is Akila Dharma Bhavanam. You know, who is the master of all religious principles, Dharma, or the occupational duty for a human being. So here we have in our philosophical scope very interesting connection between Dharma, the cows, and the Supreme Person. So it gives us an idea that that's something important, that we should pay attention. When you look at ecology, we'll find that a common definition is you have oikos, which means house, and logia, which means study. So the study of the house. How do you look at your environment, right? And they'll basically define that as the branch of biology that deals with relationships of organism or another and their physical surroundings. So ecology is really looking at relationships, you know, interdependence between different layers of that ecosystem. And it's very much connected to that balance of nature. You know, that's what an ecological. But then you must say Dharma and ecology. Now, what would be a connection between both of these? You see that sustain and sustainability comes from sustain. And the word Dharma comes from the root dri, which means to sustain. So there you go, a very deep connection between ecology and Dharma, right? And if you look at the origin of our thought process of production, of agriculture, agro-development, you see that with the reductionist movement, you know, like the positivism, mechanicism, we really went down a track of quantity. Quantity versus space. That's the definition of profit and productivity. How much you get per area. And a commodity is how much you produce over a piece of ground, like the commodity of rice, wheat, soya. So it's been reduced to only the quantity. So you see, quantity and market become very important. And that has generated industrial agriculture. We won't go into that. It's well documented, this discussion. So opposing that, you have all these other alternative agriculture movements. Start in India with Sir Albert Howard, organic agriculture, permaculture, biodynamics, and all of this evolution, which came up as a synthesis to agroecology. So agroecology makes an attempt to link quality, which is the main characteristic of this, but we have to consider that Dharma is very connected to the bulls and the cows. So that poses a real research question. And to start addressing that, one of our members in the team, he has been researching for a long time about how a certain substance which is present in the milk is also responsible for very refined activities in the brain. And that's the presentation which Chris McNay, Purushottam, is going to present for us right now. Okay? Are you ready? You have your presentation? Where's the pen? You have it? I can put it here and also project it. You have it ready? All right. Okay. So let's just. Just bring it here.
once again, more technical difficulties.
Since we are nourishing the finer tissue brain, there seems to be some practical demonstration that we really can do that. Have we been drinking enough milk to do this? Okay, is it on? It's connected. Is it on? You have it there? Yeah, here we go. That's all right. Yes, I'll just play for you. Yes. Okay.
All right. So, in the interest of time, I'm just going to read. We've lost a lot of time here already. So, nourishing the finer tissues of the brain, living on the fat of the land. Srila Prabhupada spoke repeatedly of milk developing the finer tissues of the brain. That are crucial for its function are composed of 30 to 40% DHA. Within the context of specific experimental designs, changes in brain concentrations of DHA are positively associated with changes in cognitive or behavioral performance. DHA can affect neurological function by modulating signal transduction pathways, neurotransmission, neurogenesis, myelination, membrane receptor function, synaptic plasticity, neuroinflammation, membrane integrity, and membrane organization. We have shown that dietary DHA is crucial for large-scale brain organization. So, where does this DHA come from? Is it provided in our diet? Can it be manufactured by the human body? Omega-3 PUFAs, polyunsaturated fatty acids, cannot be synthesized de novo by the human body, so we must rely on dietary means to acquire them. It's not exactly 100% true. Pregnant women are pretty good at producing DHA, as it's essential for producing these finer tissues of the brain. It's been organized that they are able to do it. In fact, all of us can do it in emergency situations where the diet simply doesn't provide it and it's necessary. But requires a metabolic process that's very expensive for the body, so we don't do it. Dietary DHA is incorporated into cellular membranes of all tissues. The extent of incorporation into the tissue membranes is dependent on dietary intake. Consumption of recommended intakes of omega-3 fatty acids, DHA in particular, may lead to a general increase in the overall health and well-being of the population. So on the right, we see the orange and yellow band there is phospholipid membrane of a cell, and the DHA is crucial. It's practically as we said earlier, 30 to 40% of that membrane. As well, you find it within the cell and it's circulating in the blood. DHA is only produced, however, directly via photosynthesis in marine phytoplankton and certain terrestrial plants, generally considered inedible by humans. The omega-3 bond captures the energy of the sun to transduce light energy into electron flow. Marine dietary sources of DHA are available for some, yet consumption of this marine life is not recommended by Krishna, nor easily accessible and affordable for everyone, or ecologically sustainable at world population scale. We all, I'm sure at this point, are familiar with the idea that we're overfishing the oceans, and there's not much opportunity left for taking fish out of the ocean at all, to say nothing of the famous one, wild-caught Alaska salmon that we have down here on the left. Cows living in confinement, whose diet is restricted to a very limited variety of plants grown on petrochemical fertilized soil, have virtually no DHA in their milk, barring artificial supplementation with fish oil or algae oil or something along that line, things that cows don't ordinarily eat. It's not good for them. Abundant, ecologically regenerative, potentially widely available. Few terrestrial resources of preformed DHA meet all these minimal requirements for widespread dietary consumption, with the exception of milk from properly cared for cows. Yet, cows themselves do not produce DHA. DHA must be present in their diet to appear in their milk, and for that matter, it also must be present in their diet to appear anywhere in their body, such as in their flesh. Even the widely touted organic and grass-fed cows do not eat the wide range of DHA-rich pasture plants that animals enjoy grazing in an opulent, biodiverse, multi-level forest growing in a healthy soil environment. Cows grazing on exceptionally diverse, healthy, young forbs, grasses, legumes, brassicas, shrubs, and some trees, fertilized by their own dung and urine, personally harvest the DHA produced by these plants and pass it directly into their milk. We can enhance the quantity of DHA, or can we? How do we do this? Enhance the quantity of DHA available for cows grazing on pasture plants. Agro-silvopastoral farming. It's an ancient form of permaculture that's become quite popular these days, has long been practiced worldwide as a method of increasing productivity by combining agriculture, particularly grain and vegetable production, fruitful forestry, that's the silvo piece, and the daily shifting of grazing ruminants, especially cows, from place to place in a sparsely forested, biodiverse, multi-layered landscape. Dung and urine from the cows nourish soil microbes who in turn provide nutrients for the plants. A healthy soil food web provides bioaccessible raw materials, and sunlight provides the energy for photosynthesis at the lowest trophic level to build healthy plant tissues containing DHA. Microorganisms at the lowest trophic level of the soil food web are nurtured when the cow passes dung and urine as she grazes, pressing them into the soil. So that arrow pointing up there is pointing at organic matter that the cow is passing on the pasture plants, and then the various animals that live within the soil and on the surface of the soil are processing the nutrients and making them available to the food web beyond the soil. So DHA is found in the growing tender tips of certain plants which thrive in an agro-silvo-pastoral grazing ground. A properly tended grazing ground offering a diverse range of healthy plants is likely to have some plants with DHA available in their growing tips during most times of the year. Important point here, properly tended. It means somebody's doing something about this. It's not just growing out there willy-nilly. The available of forages to maximize the amount of long-chain N3-PUFA omega-3s, particularly DHA, in meat, as I mentioned earlier, and for that matter, similarly in milk, is dependent on the nature of forage, including the amount and type of lipid present, and is greater when animals consume fresh forage compared with hay or silage. Cows sense this differential, and when moved frequently from pasture to pasture, a practice known today as rotational grazing, will selectively graze the tips of the DHA-rich plants, as we mentioned, not only by species, but by time of day, growth stage, season, and so on. Rotational grazing has been there, written down in the pages of the Vedic literature for more than 5,000 years for anyone to appreciate. This milk is very satisfying. In Vrindavan, there are cows that fulfill all desires, kamadhenus, and their number is unlimited. They graze from forest to forest and deliver only milk. The people want nothing else. Ecologically favorable growing conditions allow a wide range of plants living symbiotically in the rich soil of a naturally fertilized agro-silvopastoral environment to produce a virtually never-ending feast of DHA-rich forage. An enlightened farmer arranges for the proper care of their cows by providing the opportunity for them to always personally harvest fresh DHA-containing plants growing in rich, healthy soil. It's the farmer's responsibility. 2, fertilize this soil, thereby encouraging continued robust plant growth. It's the cow's responsibility. 3, the cow will deliver her milk to her cowherd family. The fundamental spiritual nature and very real value of lifetime cow protection set in small local communities dedicated to nurturing cows and bulls goes far beyond milk products themselves to literally, as we just heard a little while ago, to literally drawing the principles of religiosity in liquid form. So what exactly are these principles of religiosity drawn out by our pious activities as we care for the cows and bulls? For everyone to thrive, each of us must do our duty religiously. The simple activities necessary to scrupulously honor our responsibility to care for Krishna's dearmost friends, the cows and bulls, will draw from us behavior ideally suited to making advancement in spiritual life. The prime duty of a spiritually enlightened farmer is to grow food for the community, including the cows and bulls. As we now understand, cows should be offered grasses, especially soft, fragrant grasses, which are used to feed the cows so they would be strong and healthy and give nice milk. Well, some holy man dudes got it all backwards. Well, maybe not. Thank you very much.
So we see that that's a very interesting opportunity. This statement, which has just been presented, is present in many, many places in our scriptural register. And now, if we start to analyze how there is a correlation between DHA, milk, and systems of grazing, we have a great contribution to offer to the planet. And I'm going just to show very quickly to you other similar research opportunities And I'll try to do fast, so we might have some little questions to follow up. Let me just see if I can do this. Yeah, I think this is. Yes. Oh, sorry. Hold on, just a second. Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to go now. Yes. Okay. So now we're really looking at research opportunities, other research opportunities. And the first one, and that's an appeal for this institute, is that we really do need a literature review. We do need, as a community, to come up what has been written on these topics. And the ministry is engaged in producing such research works, but we really need to create a bigger network to actually have a very nice, solid review of what's already being produced in this area. Now, there is a book being produced at this moment called Animal Cow Care in Hindu Dharma, which is a book that has been contracted by Palgrave Macmillan, a prestigious printer. And the author, which is Kenneth Valpey, Krishna Kshetra Swami, he is a PhD from Oxford, and he is addressing many of the issues that we are facing. Like this topic of animal rights in India takes a nationalist phase, which is, he explains. And he also explains how the scenario of the world, cow protection is something relatively new, which was introduced by this institution mostly. And he goes on to analyze some of the aspects of climate, animal rights, where does it stop? And it's a very interesting book. It's actually a landmark in our research. So if there are researchers interested in animal rights, he's a very nice researcher to connect to and develop a bigger database. They're nice, aren't they? Beautiful little creatures. So another area of research we could go in is cows and consciousness. Right? Is that right? Yes. How they influence positively humans. Because the cows have such a thing as a Surya Nardi, which is kind of a device in the back. Uh-oh. Am I doing okay? How much more time? Okay. 12 minutes. So I'll try to be quick to give you a chance. So that's another research opportunity. How humans are influenced by cows. There are so many reports of humans coming close to cows and saying how their life has changed, how they feel peaceful, how they felt that so many things have become different. So a study on that would be very relevant to measure that. I've seen some research on the influence of the Mahamantra on consciousness. This could be another very interesting research. It is said that cows have the power to change the vibration of an environment, therefore influence your consciousness. And cow dung is considered to be soothing to the mind. Interesting. It creates sattvic vibrations. So apart from those, let's say, more philosophical or even ethical and on a higher level, we have a very practical, down-to-earth research needed on a Ahimsa dairy equation. Because one thing is to talk about, another thing is to show it running. So here, we really need to look at breeding cycles. Should we have a calf every 2 years, every 3 years? How does that impact your total herd size? Because you can't sell or kill your animals, because now they're family members. You don't kill your family members. So it has a whole different picture to it. And that requires research. Also, you see, different milks have different properties. So what if one of the engineers come up with a system where you just test different qualities of milk instantaneously, and you can say this milk is good for this milk is good for that. That would be very valuable. At the moment, we only have a densiometer, which measures if the milk has how much fat or how much water. Milkman likes to put water in the milk to get a little profit, especially in India, where I live. And then Panchagavya, which is all these 5 elements. India and the Tirumala Research Institute are investing $35 million in studying Panchagavya. all the benefits, antiseptic benefits of cow urine, cow dung, different soaps, cosmetics. They're producing a high list because their thesis is if the farmers have an economy from this, why would they kill their cows? They'll maintain the cows. So it's a very interesting approach to animal rights because they have a function which is not aggressive to them. Simply by passing stool and urine, they're contributing to the economy of a family. So that's a very interesting perspective. And also draft animal, you know, because half of the population will be males. What are you going to do with them? You know, when a man becomes supported by his wife and he's just hanging at home and doing nothing, he starts getting bad ideas. So we shouldn't let all the bulls just depend on the ladies for their milk, you know. They have to work. They have to do something for their existence. But they need to have a framework to do that. And then biofertilizers. This is a huge, huge field that could be investigated. So many biofertilizers, natural organic manures, vermicomposting. It could really make a difference. So those are practical researches. And then we come back here to this to say that when we went all the way down here to this line of the equation, we really eliminated a lot of our environment. A lot of problems came up, and one of them, I'm going to tell you, is this one right here. You see? We keep saying that the methane which comes from the cows, the fart of the cow is the major global warming problem. What about the fart of this gentleman here? They're much stinkier. You see, plus, if you have a look at the same picture, how many people are here? That's employment, you know? Now, this gentleman here in red, they have unemployed everybody. So that's a huge problem because it's causing social disruption in so many countries where that balance was present. And then when you go a little forward, we have here Ayurveda telling us that there are 27 properties in milk. And one of them, just if you have a look at this, it's just swadupaka, means sweet. Milk is sweet when you take. Milk is sweet when it's digested. So it has that sweetness all along. That's why it's considered sushuma ahar. It's a balanced diet. In the past, sages lived only from milk. They'll drink basically milk because it's a balanced, full diet. So all of this really interest. So it's another research area where we can attract people in a language which is universal, and then you lead to something higher. So these are very interesting tools of research. Soil. The soil is another great thing. We have great disasters in our history of farming in ISKCON. We buy very poor soils. And this is in Russia, by the way, a farmer which had about from here to here of black soil. He was a rich man. Forestry is another great area, and farming system with ecological, like syntropic agriculture. And finally, this is a transition to what we're saying. People already planting trees, you can start transitioning this environment. So study about these syntropic systems with cows in can be very valuable. We have about 4 minutes, right? I would like to extend you to questions or comments. We have one at the back. Thank you so much for the question.
What are the two farming communities in North America that you're looking at or that are a part of this?
The farming communities?
In America, yeah.
In America, we have a very good one in Pennsylvania, Gittan-Agri. They're doing very well with the Ahimsa dairy equation. They're actually supplying that to many, many places. We have New Vrindavan, which has another characteristics. They have a huge piece of land, and they're organizing a system which in the future you see great results. So they're on the way. And of course, Alachua here, there's a farm community which has so many families. As soon as they get it together, they have a great potential. Yes. I mean, getting together means working together. Because it's so many, I have here a couple who has a food forest in their backyard, and I really admire them for that. And another friend has cows at home and teach their children a homeschooling system. So they have so many ingredients. It's only a question of working it out. Another question?
Could I ask a quick one? Actually, I have two quick questions.
For me or for
one
him?
of either.
Okay.
One of the
Proceed.
variables that wasn't mentioned was the breed of the cow. You
Yeah?
mentioned it was the breed of the cow.
Okay.
How does the efficacy of the milk, the dung, and the urine change with the breed of the cow? And specifically in terms of the Surya Nardi, I thought that only a particular breed of cows having the hump have this ability to really affect our consciousness or even brain tissues.
That's a very good research to be made. Do Western cows have Surya Nadis? Are they kind of smaller? We don't know. Indian people will say only Indian cows have Surya Nadi because that's very dear to them. And actually, Shastra does indicate that this hump is where the Surya Nadi is located. And for that purpose, these cows would have a special quality, differentiated quality. So we recognize the quality. We don't deny that cows which don't have it don't have other good qualities.
Sure, but the other question was whether DHA is really the answer to the brain tissue sort of a problem, right?
That's another.
I mean, need not be.
It may not be,
Yeah.
but at least we are proposing an exciting field for you to start researching.
Yeah.
Because what if it is?
Yeah.
It's a major development.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a very good point. Very good
Yeah.
point. We have a question.
Anyways, I thought very useful sort of presentation and topic.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Plants from through the photosynthesis,
Right.
and then you put the cows out on that high quality pasture, and they're going to harvest it.
So,
And they're sensitive to plants that have more or less DHA in them.
so DHA production is a conserved mechanism across all different plant life, depending on how healthy they are, is what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
That's the impression we get. There's been very, very little research on this question. I mean, amazingly little. I think it's because the vast majority of people are coming at this question from the point of view of industrial cows. They're trying to figure out how to maximize the milk, not maximize the health qualities of that milk.
Yeah.
And, devotees are not thinking about how much milk can we get. Ideally, we're thinking about how much we can enhance the intelligence of our congregation, shall we say, at minimum. That's our goal, not how much milk can we get.
We have a last question. Maybe 1 minute. Yeah.
Prabhu, really quick, do you happen to know, during your research, is DHA destroyed by pasteurization?
No,
Because
it's not.
destroyed. Okay.
I only found one reference to that point, and that reference indicated that it is not.
And then another good research area would be comparing the beneficial effects of raw milk versus pasteurized
Absolutely.
milk. When Krishna and Balaram used to drink raw milk consistently. So
Yes.
Okay, so we'd like to thank you all very much for your patience with us and our technical problems. But in the end, we are blessed by Mother Cow, and somehow we made it. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Vedic Planetarium, Temple of Vedic Planetarium. It is a huge, tens of millions of dollar project. In it, there will be many exhibits. We have Robert Grant and Michael Cremo, Rameshwar Prabhu and Judah Karma Prabhu here to talk about two things: that project